folks, welcome ye all to yet another podcast of mine. Another Friday has caught up with us, people. Yes, it has. Although there was no Friday last week. Well, there was a Friday, but there was no podcast last week because there just simply wasn't anything that I wanted to talk about from that particular week. And that's the only reason for it. So I had a flag-and-free weekend last weekend and just I did other things. I did more recording and that sort of thing. There is, however, things to talk about this week, people. My goodness me. Bethesda and Microsoft finally done it, people. They've finally sealed the deal. It's all done. Bethesda, ZeniMax even, is now a Microsoft studio. And it was a really cool sort of couple of days because that was announced, and then they had this round table yesterday. We're going to deep dive into all of that, people. We're going to have a look at what was said and get into the nitty-gritties as much as we can from what was said in that. It was a really good round table, actually, so we'll talk all about that. As per usual, the first 10 minutes, this whole podcast is going to be about Xbox and Bethesda getting together and what that means and what Phil Spencer said. Big Phil, what he said. It's all going to be about that. There might be a few trimmings, people, as there always is. The first 10 minutes or so is the same as always, people. I'm just going to chat about my week a little bit and what I've been up to at work, what I've been up to recording for the channel, that sort of thing, what I'm planning for. So if you're not interested in that little segment that I'm going to do at the beginning and you're just interested in the Microsoft bit, I will try and put a timed message on the screen or a breaker point where you can go to and just crack into the chit-chat about all things Microsoft and Bethesda. So shall we crack on? But flagons up to you all, people. Flagons up to you all. My first beer in 2 weeks. Blimey, eh? Cool, blimey. It's been dry. Yes, no beers last week. But I decided not to do the podcast last week because I simply didn't find anything to, as I say, I didn't find anything to talk about that particular week that would have, that would have been worth doing an entire podcast on. I mean, if I'm going to do general chit chat, then I'll probably do it as a vlog. And I suppose I can talk about things that aren't particularly news or anything like that. But I just, there wasn't much piquing my interest. And to be honest, it wasn't like, if I'm not in the zone for a podcast or a vlog, then it's really not worth me doing one because you can tell when someone's not into it. You know what I mean? They're not off, people. You you just have me asleep at a microphone is what you would have had. So I've had a couple of weeks of. I've managed to keep the recording up for you. You'll have seen the Skyrims firing up as they have been, but we'll get to the channel stuff in a bit. My week's been pretty good. Work's gone really well. I've got plenty done. I think the last podcast I did, I said that I had a couple, a new project which turned into two projects really, and basically it was I had to write a virus and testing logging system for my workplace, so that people can log when they've had a test and what the result was and sends an email if they've got a positive, that sort of stuff. So just to manage testing and you can also log your vaccinations, that kind of thing. So that's what I was writing. And in the end, when I started writing the first one, they wanted a second one for a different set of people. Well, I work at a college, so it was they wanted it for staff initially, and then they said, oh, well, actually, we might as well have it for students. So I wrote a separate one for students, and that's what I've been up to. So that all got done, and I managed to crack through a whole bunch of other stuff that was piling up as I was doing that, because that was classified as urgent. Can we do that now? And so I cracked into that and ignored everything else for about a week and a half. And then I sort of was mopping up all the little things that have been hit, well, not little, but all the other things that have been hitting. It's a never-ending list, but I've got loads done this week, which is great. So that's been work. I don't know what's going on with my life at the minute, and I've managed to do well. Let me say this, and let me say no more, because I know how much you love my exercise stories. I managed to get 2 runs in this week. It would normally have been 3 to 4, but the weather's just been god awful. So I managed to do a run on Monday, and I managed to do a run on. So I did Saturday and I did Monday, and then nothing until today. So I did an 8.4K at lunchtime to get me out of the house, and it was a good run today actually, considering it had been a 3-day break. It was pretty good. I was only a number of seconds off the time from Monday, so that was pretty decent. So running wise has been fine. I've at least managed to keep the cardio up with those 2 runs, I think. And then hopefully the weather might be a bit better in the coming week. Not that I can't run in the rain, it's just it's just a pain in the arse because my headphones. It depends. Well, my headphones are all water resistant anyway, but it's just not pleasant to run in the rain. You know, basically. Anywho, so my running's been pretty good. But with the regards to that, well, I had a bit of sad news actually. My neighbour. I think I might have mentioned it, but my neighbour a few weeks back. But my neighbour was taken away into hospital a few months ago, and I sadly heard that from her son that she's not going to be coming home. I don't think that she's been put into end of life care, which is really sad to hear. She's a really lovely woman, and I'm really, really gutted that she's at that stage. I mean, she's well into her 80s, you know, but and it's just really sad because she's just such a lovely woman, and I would have certainly have liked to have got to spend more time with her over the garden fence, chit chatting to her and stuff like I do every year. So it's really, really sad that this is happening. And I feel for her and her family and her son that keeps me updated because I know exactly what that feels like with my mum having passed away. 2017 it was, wasn't it? And that was a similar thing where she was taken into the hospice and cared for toward the end. So yeah, really, really sad news. So I don't have any idea as to, you know, time frames or anything like that, but it's just really sad to hear. It's very quiet next door, obviously, with her not being there. Son comes around every now and then to sort stuff out. But the one thing I've noticed is that she has she must have about 10 bird feeders in her garden. She feeds the birds beyond belief. And my house and her house, if you look at it from Google Maps, we're the only two houses in the whole of this area that have got almost green roofs half the time because of the birds that sort of nest up there and take stuff up, and there's just all this mossy stuff on the roof. But the amount of bird life that we get in the garden is just incredible. Like, you should see the variety of birds that I see just working here, because I look out from my desk where that camera is recording me now, as I'm working through the day, and the amount of birds that land on the higher trees and stuff, it's just incredible, the amount of different coloured birds and types of birds you see. And really, another sad part of her not being there is that, of course, she's not been feeding them. And it's been a few months now, and it was only the last couple of weeks or so, that I've noticed that the birds that used to be on the roof all the time, the pigeons have all gone, like they're not there anymore. The little birds that used to land on the trees are nigh on non-existent now. So it's amazing the difference that one person can have on wildlife if you care for the creatures around you. It really is. Because it was the most unbelievable thing to see when these birds came down to feed, the amount of different birds. But anyway, I mean, some of them will be back in the spring because she's got there's a lot of fruit trees and stuff in the gardens, cherry trees, stuff like that, and they come and feed on those in spring. But without any doubt, it's made a massive difference to, the little view I've got from out of my window when I'm working away. It was quite nice to see those birds come and visiting. So maybe I'll have to make more of an effort to feed them myself to get the wildlife keep coming back. But anyway. Yeah, so anyway, my heart out to her and her family at this particular time. And what else has been going on? So I don't know what's going on with my life, which is what I was about to start saying earlier. Things just seem to keep breaking at the minute. I've had the boiler, which I've told you about already. I've still not got that. It's still churning away, the boiler. It's doing its job. It's just got this little drip happening on it. So I've just got towels underneath it, just to soak up any little drips that come out, but it's still working. So I've got that ready to fix if I need to, if it goes pop. And then my car battery suddenly died at, I think it was Sunday. Yeah, it was Sunday. I just wanted to bob to the shop, got in the car, went to start it up. There just wasn't enough juice in it. And that was me. I'd been going out every sort of other day to try and run it for 15 minutes to keep the battery topped up, but it had just gone. But to be fair, it's a 20-year-old car, and I've had that car for 7 years, and that battery's done me proud. So, I'm not grumbling at the fact I need a new one, but I went online to the Halfords thing, and they come to your door and fit it. So that happened. And then the same day, I was all chuffed with myself that I got the car sorted and I could just get in it and go now. And I later on that evening, I went to cook myself some toast. So I put the toast on, turned around to make something, and I heard this bang, and just everything, the whole house just went pitch black. Everything just went off. The whole electricity, everything just went off. It's like, Jesus Christ. Well, I knew in my head, and my brain suddenly went, Jesus, bet that was the toaster, because it's the only thing that had changed in the the previous 2 minutes. Anyway, sure enough, long story short, put the fuses all back on. Toaster was completely dead. So then I had to order a new toaster, alongside the fact that the salt and pepper dish in my kitchen, the pepper one, is one of those little cheap ones, but it's got a little pushing thing in the bottom that keeps it from running out. Yeah, so you fill it up from the bottom. The pepper one, that fell out at some point, and I've never been able to find the damn thing. So I've got tissue stuffed in the bottom of that, well, kitchen roll, and it's been like that for ages. But just as I was going to salt something the other day, the salt one's bottom fell out and is really, really loose. So it was like, oh. So when I ordered the new toaster, I ordered a new salt and pepper thing. So I've got a brand new toaster, which is a 4-slicer, people. Come on now. I only had a 2-slicer before. The only downside is the 4-slicer that I bought, same company, the Warburton's bread, which is slightly taller, doesn't quite go in. Like, so you end up having to either flip it round or just be happy with the top being a little bit crisp but not dark. Whereas my two one was the right height, even if you had the longer bread. So that's the only downside, but it's a tiny thing. But it looks great though. The 4 toaster is really nice. It was a 50 quid toaster down. It was reduced to 38 or something, 39. And the little salt and pepper things were little metal things, So anyway, but things just keep breaking around me at the moment. I'm hoping that's it now, because I could do with not having to dish out money for things I didn't know I was going to dish out money for. I mean, I'm all right. I've got my savings, but, we've got council tax month coming up, and I like paying my council tax in Awana. And then we've got, the boiler, if that goes. So, I mean, that on its own, that could be $2,500, maybe 2,700, depending. So... a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Well, the millions and millions that I make off of YouTube, people. Well, £100 every 3 months. Flagging's up, people. I'm going to have another sip of this before we get going. Let's talk about games, shall we? Right. Get me notes out. So it was finally done, people. It was finally done. The deal with Bethesda and Microsoft. Actually, the one thing I didn't tell you was what was going on with the channel. So just very briefly, I've managed to get pretty much, I think we only had a day's break, I want to say. It might have been 2 days break with nothing. But I've managed to get, outside of that, I've managed to get Skyrim. The Skyrim Let's Play has been going every day. You've got a Skyrim all the way through to Sunday. You've got another one on Sunday. And hopefully by that point on Sunday, I'll probably have recorded some more anyway of something. To those people who were following the Immortals Phoenix Rising, I am absolutely going to get back into that game. I just haven't had the time and been able to do it yet. I was gonna do a bit of Skyrim, then a bit of Phoenix Rising. The problem was that because I was so into grinding out, well, if you're watching that Skyrim video, you'll see that I was grinding out my smithing so that we could get level 100, get the dragon armor and weapons, all that sort of stuff. So you'll see all that progress through, and I didn't want to take a break in the middle of it to then go and record some Phoenix Rising. So I made the decision just to keep going. It's quite difficult, especially when you're selling stuff, and then you've got to try and get all your perks onto your armor for doing the smithing, and then your potions, and it's just a lot to remember. And then if you take a break and come back in to try and do it, you've ended up forgetting something. So it was just wiser for me to keep going through Skyrim. So what I'll do is I'm still going to record more Skyrim first, because I want to see that out, because I've prepped the next episode in order to do the dragon armor. You'll see me do the dragon weapons in the ones that are already there, but the dragon armor we needed to come back to because I'd run out of coin at that point. So yeah, so I've prepped for that. So I'm going to do the next blah amount of episodes of Skyrim, probably 3. I tend to record 3s at a time of whatever I'm doing. And then if I manage to do that on Sunday, then I'll record Phoenix Rising on Monday. If not, it will be Monday, Tuesday, and I'll do the 2 recordings then, so that you will get more Phoenix Rising. Worry ye not. I know that the viewing figures of Phoenix Rising have dropped down a bit. I'm also extremely conscious, like I said in the last podcast, that I'm not doing any Microsoft recording at the moment. I'm not doing any Xbox recording. And it's simply because that's the way the cookie landed. You know what I mean? I do know it's cookie crumbled, by the way. I just went with cookie landed because it sounded a bit strange. Made me chuckle in my brain. Anyway, yeah, it's just the way it landed. I really want to get back to doing some Kingdoms of Amalur if I can. However, it may turn out to be more Bethesda stuff once we get into the Microsoft Bethesda stuff. And we're going to do that now, people. You'll have noticed also the people that love these images that I've not had up for the last few weeks when I've done the podcasts. We've got a glorious selection for you today. I've gone out of my way to get you a nice glorious selection of pictures. I've also upped the brightness on it because I'm hoping, because I've now got a new ring light down here. If it does get dark, it's sunny at the minute, but if it does get dark, I'm hoping the ring light will combat anything that's bright behind me. What was happening before, for anyone new, is the TV would get so bright that it would darken me and everything in the room, and that would take over. So it wasn't the best way of I needed some balance of light. So we turned the contrast and the brightness down on the telly. I've turned it back up to about 50 out of 100 on both. 50 out of 100 on both of them, so it's much clearer. So hopefully for those people, I know a lot of you commented when I started doing these podcast style ones instead of the vlogs, or alongside the vlogs, that you loved the screenshots that I put up, the wallpapers that I put up as I was chatting. So there you are, and brighter. We'll see how we get on. Right, come on now, Stephen, let's get into the Xbox stuff. So it was finally done. I think it was Wednesday, wasn't it? I want to say Wednesday because the roundtable was yesterday. I'm pretty sure it was Wednesday. They announced that the Bethesda, the ZeniMax, and Microsoft purchasing ZeniMax, the whole deal had gone through, and they were now officially a Microsoft company or studio, Xbox studio. I think it comes under Microsoft Studios, doesn't it? So they're a Microsoft studio. And the big question on everybody's lips was, what is happening with Bethesda games? Are they going to be exclusive to Xbox, exclusive to Xbox or wherever you can play Games Pass effectively, or are they going to still push these games out onto other consoles? Switch, PlayStation, Switch, I suppose, if you're going to put it that way around, because, I mean, more likely they'll hit PlayStation first. However, I said from the very beginning, and very few people believe me, I often stand on my own. I said from the off that there is no way in God's green earth that Big Phil's got his wallet out for $7.2 billion and is going to put new games on the PlayStation. There is no chance. The whole point of this thing for me was that Microsoft want a set of studios that they can be as proud of as Sony have. And that's exactly what they've accomplished by buying Bethesda. They'd already had bought, a number of studios that are going to grow, they're going to become better. They already had some big ones anyway, and but it wasn't to the caliber of what Sony had. This singular purchase has now given them the core amount of good studios, probably the same amount of good studios now that Sony have got. So they're now on a level playing field when it comes to their first party stuff. So they have to make it first party. I mean, I think the Xbox community would have been gutted if they said, "Oh well, all of these games are going on PlayStation anyway," because it's like, well, why did you buy it? You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, other than the game coin, obviously, but the whole point of this thing was to bring exclusivity to a big, better exclusives effectively, and give a broader range of games and games to be proud of for the Xbox community. And also, the number one thing they're doing at the moment is making Games Pass an irresistible offer, because all of these games are going to go on Games Pass day one when these games go out. And that is the stuff, this is the stuff of Netflix, people. You know what I mean? You invest in your content so that people will pay a monthly subscription to have that service. So I said from the off, they've got to be making these exclusive games. Obviously there's stuff out there that they won't make exclusive, like Elder Scrolls Online. It's already out there. It's already on multiple platforms. Of course that's going to stay on multiple platforms. There's already deals made with the what's that game called? Deathloop. I was going to say Loopity-Loop there. Deathloop, stuff like that. They're going to see those through. Phil said that. Those contracts are going to be said through. Anyway, right off the bat in this round table that they had on the following day that they announced it, and they did say on the Wednesday that there would be something happening with Games Pass and games being added to it, but more would be told later. I'm going to have another sip. And So along came, and then I think it was later on Wednesday, they said there's going to be a roundtable tomorrow. It was 6 p.m. in the UK, whatever time that is. It must have been in the morning in the United States of America. And sure enough, it was actually really cool. I think it sounded like they were in the Microsoft studio, or one of the Microsoft headquarters, and they had Tom Howard and I'm going to forget all the names now. But anyway, Big Phil was there. The two main guys from Bethesda were there, Tim Howard and what's his name? Anyway, he was hosting it. The other one was hosting it, and another set of people. They did change a few of the people around, and they had people on video as well. So there's a kind of a balance of Microsoft people and Bethesda people. And then they also had this later on in the event. They also said, right, let's take a look at this studio, let's take a look at that studio, and they had the directors of those studios talking about how good this deal is and what's going to mean for their particular studio and all that sort of stuff. It was really, really cool. I mean, there was no announcements as such, but there was information given. And the biggest, I was so surprised that this happened nearly almost off the bat. I mean, we weren't 5 minutes in, I don't think, when we actually got the definitive answer from Big Bill, when they said, because they knew that the community had been going mad for an answer on this. Are they going to be exclusive? Are they not going to be exclusive? And it was one of the first things they addressed. And I was really surprised that they were so open about it straight off the bat. And basically he said, look, we couldn't give you an answer before the deal was done. Like, there was nothing going on other than getting the deal done. We've been having conversations with everybody, obviously, as two companies, knowing it was going to happen. There's been a lot of communication. We've had they've had close partnerships anyway, so they were already two companies that spoke to each other a lot. And so they couldn't, like, Phil was like, well, we couldn't say anything before now, because it's only now that we can tell you what our vision is, and this is what we're going to do. And this is what he said. So I'm taking this from IGN's posting up of it, which also has the games that are being added to... I'm surprised it wasn't every game actually being added to Games Pass, but there might be a reason for it, and we'll find out, I'm sure. But anyway, here we are. I'm going to do this without my glasses, am I? So this is what Phil said. Obviously, I can't sit here and say every Bethesda game is exclusive, because we know that's not true. There's contractual obligations that we're going to see through. As we always do in every one of these instances, we have games that exist on other platforms, and we're going to go support those games on the platforms they're on, right? So that's existing games along with, online games. Well, basically anything that's existing is going to be supported. It's not going to be taken away. There's communities of players. We love those communities and we'll continue to invest in them. And even in the future, there may be things that have contractual things or legacy on different platforms that we'll go do, right? So he's basically saying that, well, let's hear the end of it. But if you're an Xbox customer, the thing I want you to know is that this is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Games Pass exists. That's our goal. That's why we're doing this. That's the root of this partnership that we're building, and the creative capability we'll be able to bring to market for Xbox customers is going to be the best it's ever been for Xbox after we're done here. So there you go. That's like Big Phil himself. That's his words. That's him saying it. And what he's saying is, if it exists already, we're still going to support it. You're okay. If it's something we already agreed a contract to, like Deathloop, we're going to see that through. It's fine. You've got it. Anything new is exclusive. So basically, Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6, Fallout 4, blah, 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 all going to be exclusive. And for me, and everyone who watches my channel and knows my channel knows I have no preference to either console as just, on the basis of console or environment. I have preferences on games, on particular experiences based on that particular experience. But I don't have... I'm not a fanboy of one or the other. I always buy both sides consoles when they come out. I want to experience every type of game that I can, and I love console gaming, and I don't mind which one it's on. I love both places. So everything I say is said with as an open book and without bias to one side or the other. I believe that this is absolutely the best decision that Xbox could have made. There is no point in making that $7.2 billion investment if you're not going to make that a must-have Xbox or Games Pass thing. Like, otherwise, you've done yourself no service whatsoever. You've done yourself a massive disservice, in fact. So Big Phil's doing a cracking job. He's been doing a cracking job since he took over. It's taken him a long time to get to this point. He sold the argument to whoever holds the big coins at Microsoft about making this deal happen. And absolutely, it was about getting these games onto the Xbox Games Pass and into that community and forcing gamers to choose that community. Absolutely. That's what you should be doing with your services and with your consoles. So I think it's the right decision. I think it's absolutely the right decision, and I'm more chuffed at that than I would have been if they were just going to dish them out all over the place. Nobody would have expected Sony to be putting their games on an Xbox if they'd bought Bethesda. No one would have even asked the question. It would have just happened. So I don't know why it was even a question mark anyway. But there you have it. All new games that are not contractually obliged to be an exclusive like Deathloop or already exist. All new games are going to be exclusive. There you have it. We know now. That's it. It's been said, and that's what's going to happen. It's the reason it's been done, the reason the deal's been done. So, for me, right decision, and almost immediately, they talk about I think it got a little bit vague with the Games Pass at one point, because I wasn't quite sure. They were talking about, we've been talking about this and what's going to happen and what's been going on in the Game Pass. But they did say specifically at one point that there was going to be a whole pile of games, and it was pretty early on in the round table as well. There's a big pile of games going to be hitting the Games Pass today. So let's rattle through what those games were. And this is from the same IGN article, by the way. So we've got Dishonored, Dishonored 2, Doom, Doom 2, Doom 64, Doom 3, Doom Eternal, Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4, Fallout 76. Interestingly, no Fallout 3 in that list, which is really weird. I don't know why that is. Maybe we'll get an answer on that at some point. Fallout 76. Prey, Rage 2, Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, The Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, The Elder Scrolls Online, which is quite a big deal because that brings a whole new audience to Elder Scrolls Online. I'm assuming it wasn't there before. So I think they did talk about this actually, about the Elder Scrolls Online opening up to a whole host of new people playing it, because it was going to be on the Games Pass and people could just go in and because they've done a terrific job with that game. I remember when Elder Scrolls Online first came out, and the betas and stuff, people were like, "Man, I'm not sure they're not sure it looks great, not sure about this, not sure about that." And I tell you, they've done nothing but make that game better and better, and it's been a massive success, that game. It wouldn't surprise me if that game's made more money than Skyrim itself, the way that it's been, because it's a, games as a service thing, isn't it? It's an MMO. So it's just forever getting updates, forever getting, like Destiny, it's forever, buy this expansion, blah, blah, blah. Now that's the interesting part. It's like, what level of the Elder Scrolls Online is going to be on Games Pass? Because if it's not the expansions as well, then it's a bit meh, because you need the expansions to get the whole experience. I feel like you should get the whole experience. If it's now a Microsoft studio, you should get the whole thing. Not like Destiny, where it's like you get Destiny 2 on Games Pass, but you've got none of the most recent stuff. So you need to invest in that. Because let's face it, with Destiny, the bloody expansions are as dear as a new game. So it'll be interesting to suss that out. Maybe if you know, let me know in the comments below if you know the answer to that, because it'd be interesting to know if the community of this channel to know as well if that's true. If you're getting the full on, I haven't actually looked at Games Pass today to see these arrive. I didn't know what time it was going to happen, and obviously it's later here. It's just hitting it's evening time here now. But in the United States, obviously, it's I would think, going to happen. Well, it'll happen globally, but you know what I mean? That like someone in the United States will add it to Games Pass, I assume. So it'll probably happen at some point soon, rather than it been happening through the day. So The Elder Scrolls Online, The Evil Within, but notably not The Evil Within 2. Again, why? It's not like it's a new title. It's been out for a long time. Wolfenstein: The New Order, Wolfenstein: The Old Blood, Wolfenstein: Young Blood. I mean, that's a lot of titles just straight off the bat. Smack. There you have it. Have it on Games Pass. I mean, bloody hellfire. What a purchase this is. It really is. I mean, Craigie Boy said to me yesterday, he goes, oh, yeah, well, for all the 10 people that haven't played the Bethesda games, it's like, hang on a minute. I don't think you realise how many Bethesda games there is. I mean, in his brain, he's only thinking about Fallout and Skyrim. But, I mean, look at all the titles that are in that. Crazy. I realise they're not new games, but there's a lot of people are not going to play those games. And it's going to open those games and to people that have never played them before, and give them a want to maybe play the future ones, you know, like Dishonored 3 if there is one, or, you know, what have you. But on top of all of that, any successive game to any of those series of games is going to be day one free on Games Pass. Just sign up and you'll get it day one. And they have already said that they're going to have a lot of news this summer on releases from Bethesda, so we can get really excited really quickly about what's coming from Bethesda. So I'm really, really excited about it. I mean, you know, it's just ridiculous. Like, it's Elder Scrolls Online, Doom, Wolfenstein, Prey, Dishonored. Oh, there's a notable one. Was Prey in that list? I think it was. Yeah, it was. Dishonored, Evil Within, Indiana Jones, Elder Scrolls 6, Fallout 5, Starfield. All of those things are all going to be coming to the Xbox world, whether it be Games Pass on a PC or on the actual Xbox itself, Series X and Series S, and what have you. Absolutely fantastic. They then also said that they're going to be getting the FPS boost. This FPS boost came around recently. I think there was about 5 titles, might have been 5 or 6 titles that got this new FPS boost with the backward compatibility. Now remember, when we talk about backward compatibility now, we're not talking about 360 and the original Xbox now. We are talking about them, but we're also talking about all the Xbox One games. And most of the games that got this FPS boost, I think, if I remember rightly, were Xbox One games that got this FPS boost. So that means they're getting, I'm assuming it is a 60 FPS boost up, but it just says FPS boost, which means you're getting better frames per second on all of those games, just with them being put through this backward compatibility, whatever it is they do, magic. Yeah, we're going dark again now, aren't we? Going dark again. Because the sun's gone, people. My light isn't... Let me try something here. My light is not quite doing its thing. Let's try pulling it forward a bit and see if it... You can see it in the camera shot there, see? Ring light. See if it helps. I mean, it's a different tone of light, to be fair. Not sure what else to do. I mean, we've still got a lot of light coming through, but because I've turned the brightness up on the TV, it's starting to dominate a little bit. It depends on the picture as well. Anyway, I've lost my train of thought now. What on earth was I talking about, people? FPS boost. Good grief. Age is a terrible thing, people. Yeah, so effectively what happens is they put it through the Magic machine, whatever they've got, the Magic software. And the initial Magic software sort of just made everything better anyway. Better graphics, better, run smoother, all the rest of it. I mean, I was super impressed with back compat anyway, for all the 360 stuff that they were pushing on. And then now they're doing this FPS boost for all the games as well, which predominantly is going to be the Xbox One ones, I think. But they've said that a handful of the titles that we've just read out there are going to have 60 FPS boosts. Well, they're going to have FPS boost added to them. Didn't give a date, but it is going to happen, and it will happen soon, I think. So I'm super excited, but slightly, oh my god, because OMG, because we know that I've already done Fallout 4 a lot of hours in a playthrough. I've stopped playing because I had a feeling that this FPS boost was going to, well, a patch or something was going to happen with 60 FPS and my trophies could get turned back on. And then I did a bunch of stuff on, because I was recording Fallout 4 from a certain point in that playthrough. I turned on a mod that gave you uncapped FPS. And then I did the same with Skyrim on the Xbox. And then I stopped that, and when this patch came out for the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 5, I think it's on PlayStation 4 as well, but it's PlayStation 5, somebody managed to get a mod for 60 FPS on that, which is why I moved over and started a PlayStation 5 Let's Play of Skyrim. Now, if we get an FPS boost for Fallout 4 and Skyrim, I'd be seriously feel let down if those two games aren't getting an FPS boost. Because if anyone's looking at that range of games that we just read out there, the first two titles on that list that they're going to want 60 FPS on is Fallout 4 and Skyrim. Absolutely, without any shadow of a doubt. And if they can do it a lot smoother than it was done with those mods, because let's face it, the mod was just an uncap. I'm hoping that the FPS boost software actually does some kind of dynamic imaging so that if it does get to a point where it's struggling, it can just reel those images in a little bit. So I'm hoping that we'll get a much smoother experience, which means, OMG, OMG, that I might have to do another Let's Play of both of those from the beginning, which is fine. I love both of those games. So you may well see me do another from the beginning Skyrim and Fallout 4. Straight from the beginning, at least a number of parts to let you see how it's playing. But, and definitely with Fallout, I'd be wanting to see that through, because if that's, that's going to have my trophies, my achievements back on and enable me to get those, because I've never finished the game. And, same to a major extent with Skyrim. I've not got all the trophies for Skyrim, achievements for Skyrim either. So, I'm going to have to decide what the bloody hell I'm doing, because I definitely want to see that PlayStation playthrough now that I've managed to just get my bloody 100 smithing. I'm definitely wanting to see that through to some extent. So, it might be a case of, I don't know, I need to have a good think about what I'm going to do there. But you can bet your bottom dollar that there's going to be a bunch of Xbox recording on the channel at some point when those FPS boosts kick in. So here's fingers crossed that we're talking about Fallout 4 and Skyrim, at the very least, getting this FPS boost. I mean, it'd be a major disappointment if those two games are not the two top of the lists for getting that FPS boost. But they did say a handful of them, so, But all in all, I mean, the other thing they talked about that was really interesting was they were talking about studio collaboration, which, I've not spent an awful lot of time thinking about how important that is or how it happens, or but when you watch that roundtable event, it was they went quite deep into the fact that they were like, hey, look, we don't force one studio to work with another studio. These things normally, this was Bethesda talking about it, these things normally happen naturally. Like if one studio or people in one studio are just really interested in what another studio is doing, that kind of organically just grows. And then if they need a hand, they go, well, we'll give you a hand. We'll help out with this, that, and the next thing. And, so it was a really interesting kind of thing to listen to, because the benefits of, because Phil Spencer then started talking about that he's so excited about the fact that his already owned Microsoft studios that are now in combination with Bethesda, that they can all start collabing with Bethesda and getting, their knowledge and experience of how these things work. Microsoft, Xbox is a huge first-person shooter place, or shooter mechanics games. And, you know, if you look at Doom, who are probably the best, if one of the best, if not the best, you know, bring in a super smooth shooter with all the bells and whistles. That studio now talking to the Gears studio, talking to, you know, I mean, those sort of collaborations can make it's going to do is just feed the entire studio community of Microsoft to get better and better and better, collabing with all of these different people from all of these different studios. And that's exactly what you can tell from the PlayStation games that have been coming out. That's exactly what's been happening over at PlayStation. All of their studios have been talking to each other and finding out what's best for this, what's best for that. The rub-off that Naughty Dog have had on all of those studios just about is just insane. You know what I mean? Like Microsoft, I mean, PlayStation, you can pretty much, you know, they have got this third-person action-adventure thing down to a T. And if you look at any of them, they've got a huge Naughty Dog stamp all over them. There is no doubt that Naughty Dog have spent a lot of time with all of these other studios in order to bring that quality across all of the studios at Microsoft. I mean, it's amazing. You could probably say no to that in the world of Insomniac, for example, who are already amazing at what they did. But, you know, if you look at the Days Gone's a good example. You know, even God of War, the way that has now evolved into that style of game, those sort of games, you can see the influence from Naughty Dog without any shadow of a doubt. So yeah, I mean, I'm super stoked. Like it was a really good announcement for the middle of the week. It was a really cracking round table. Obviously, I feel bad for the people that are. I mean, if you take your trophies away, right? Just pretend that trophies weren't a thing. You can still play these games. You don't have to own an Xbox to play them. You can play them on the cloud, on Xbox Cloud. Just buy games. You can buy Games Pass for a couple of months. You know, you just get it or a month. When you know that a big game's coming out, and you can just play it xCloud. If you get the Ultimate, the Games Pass Ultimate, which is $10.99 in this country, £10.99, and play it that way, and you can still experience the game. But you know, obviously, it's a little bit disappointing that you're not playing it on your, you know. But that's the same for all of the Xbox players that have not been able to play all of the PlayStation games. So you know, is what it is, yeah. But you can still play these games at least. You know, that option's not there for people that don't want to be playing a PlayStation, is it? You know what I mean? They can't just go on and play like that on another system. They'd have to have an Xbox. They have to have a PlayStation of some description in order to play anything. At least Microsoft have now got this ability for you to play these games on PC or your laptop or even your mobile. You can play xCloud on your mobile. You can just get a holder, Xbox controller in, boom. In fact, it may well work with a PlayStation controller. I don't know that for a fact, but I mean, it'd be interesting if someone can tell me the answer to that in the comments below. But you may well be able to do that. You've seen those holders you get. You put your phone in it and you clip the controller to it and you just game like that. Unbelievable. So, I mean, I think what Microsoft are doing is absolutely incredible. I can't wait for the big titles to start being noised about, you know, and start to get some dates for when they might be out and that sort of thing. And I think it's going to do nothing but good for the competition and the level of games that we're going to get across everywhere. You know, I think the people lagging behind for me, I know people will shout at me and say the Switch is one of the best selling machines of all time. Yeah, absolutely. And it's found its own little market. But that machine is so underpowered now. Like, it is so out of date power wise. If they rest on their laurels with that Switch, they're going to suffer for it, because the stuff that was getting ported over to that, I mean, I was super surprised that things like The Witcher and stuff managed to run on it in a really cut down version way, but they need to get a more powerful version of the Switch or some sort of docking station that lets it Uber itself up, because as far as console gaming goes, that thing's just become a portable device. Like, nobody wants to be playing a version of any third-party game on that when they know it's playing at 60 frames per second elsewhere. It's just crazy. So, you know, I'm super glad that it's so, you know, my son Aaron Brew's, like, his favorite console is the Switch. It's his number one console. He just loves playing on the Switch. and he's not that bothered about 60 frames per second. That's fair enough. But I think as time goes on and you do start playing games in 60 frames per second more frequently, I think you're going to find that a struggle going back to 30 FPS and 720p on the little screen, or it struggles with 1080p, to be fair, on the big screen even. I mean, I found, Zelda was a beautiful game, but it was sticky. It was a sticky 30 frames per second on the big screen. It was fine on the little screen, but on the big screen you could see it was a sticky 30 FPS. Beautiful, but I mean, I'd love to see that game playing at 60 frames per second. Jesus, be amazing. Well, I'd also love to see that game playing where all my weapons aren't a twig that I just picked up from the ground. Which is why I stopped playing it. I was like, I don't want to play with branches. Come on now. Can I have some proper weapons, please? Anyway, so there you are. I am really excited though. I think Microsoft are just doing everything right at the moment. There was a little blip for me when it got to launch day and Valhalla had all of its screen tearing issues, and I was like, but hopefully that's just studios not getting enough time with the console before the game is due to come out. And they have patched it. It is a lot smoother. It's not perfect, but it is a lot smoother. And those things should iron themselves out given time. It is the more powerful console of the two, absolutely. My biggest next gen experience has been on the PlayStation because it feels like a whole new experience. The Xbox just feels like I'm back on my Xbox One, but it's just super powerful. And that's fine. You know what I mean? I don't really need anything else. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to everything to do with Bethesda and how they're going to manage all that. I'm really surprised that I'm not getting more light from it. It's really bright, this ring light in front of me. If I'd not turned the brightness up in that TV, I think we probably would have found the ring light a bit better. Little lesson learned there. I haven't gone really dark though, at least. But it is just that is super bright now. That when I did the brightness up to 50, it was really sunny outside, so it didn't feel like it was quite as. So maybe next time we do this, it might be taken down to brightness of 40. Brightness and contrast down to 40 out of 100 maybe. We're on 50 at the minute. For all the older ones that I did, it was like down to 20 or something. So there you are. Did we have anything else, people? If I talk any longer, I fear I'll just be rambling on. I think we've covered it, people. I'm really, really interested to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below what you think about the Bethesda and Microsoft getting together, the fact it's now sealed, the fact that now it's now all confirmed that all the new games are going to be exclusive as long as there was no pre-contract beforehand like Deathloop. Let me know what you think about all those new games being exclusive. And are you excited? Are you cheesed off? Or, let me know in the comments below. So there you are, folks. That's all I have for you. I'm not actually sure how long I was talking for. Once again, with the screenshots being back up, it means I record the audio on the laptop, but the laptop screen is now that that slideshow. So I can't see how long it's been going for. I believe we have. I believe maybe we've been going for about 3/4 of an hour, people. Maybe. This is where I stop talking and realise I've only been talking for 10 minutes. This is my therapy, though, people. It's my weekly therapy. But I can't think of anything else that jumped out in the world of gaming. But I really wanted to make this particular podcast all about, outside of my first 10 minutes talking about me, and my channel. I wanted this podcast to be all about Xbox. I mean, I actually kind of worry about the day that I always have this fear that Phil Spencer's suddenly going to get, not that he can go much higher than he is, I don't think, but he'll get some super promotion and suddenly isn't in charge of Xbox anymore. And that's the only thing that concerns me, because his driving force behind all of these changes has been nothing short of miraculous, considering the absolute nightmare of the Xbox One launch. I mean, everything they were doing was wrong. And the guy who was running it just had no clue. It was like they didn't even ask the community or do any research as to what people wanted. It was crazy. And considering they were off the back of one of the most popular consoles of all time, it's just ridiculous. So I worry for the day that Phil moves on, but I think that's going to be a while away. I think he's still loving it. He's a big gamer anyway. I don't know that he would want to move away from what he's doing, but I think I think the platform or the foundations that he's putting down now would be very hard to destroy. You know, once his legacy will, of course, be Games Pass and the studios that he's managed to get as first-person studios putting content on Games Pass and making it a must-have thing. And even though cloud gaming is coming into play, absolutely they are still going to be making powerful consoles. And there's no way, I don't think, that they will ever want themselves to be found the lesser of the two consoles in power. It was Phil's first job was like, got to get our consoles better. And then his next job was got to get our games better, got to get our studio amount up. You know, more Microsoft Studios. Let's get some more studios on board. Let's create some more studios. I mean, it's a miraculous job he's done. It really is. And you know, some would argue that it was simple stuff that he did in the beginning, and it was. You know, like, but this is because when you put someone in charge that actually loves gaming and has been an Xbox gamer for a long time, they know what the community wants. The guy before him, I don't know if he even played a game in his life, the way they look at it. So I've got nothing but respect for Phil Spencer. He seems like a really top bloke, and everything he does just seems to be in the benefit of the community. Yeah, okay, there's the odd blip here and there where they did that thing a number of weeks back where they tried to change prices and stuff. It's all right. These things happen with any company, and you go, okay, at least they're big enough to say, yeah, bad call, we'll not do that now. But what a guy. Absolutely brilliant. Really, really good. I hope, and I hope that the foundations he's laying are strong enough that they won't have the wobble that they had Xbox One launch after the 360 now. But of course his biggest legacy is always going to be Games Pass. And I can't see anything other than Sony doing something similar at some point, because the whole world's become streaming services. And people do not want to spend... What are we paying in this country now? I think a PlayStation first party exclusive is £70. Like, it's $69.99 or something. It's an insane amount of money. Like, people don't have £70 a game when there's that many games coming out. I mean, I will only buy a game on day one if it's an absolute must, or for me personally, or it's something I think the channel will benefit from, which is usually an RPG. Otherwise, I just wait for the price to come down. You're not going to get my money at that price. I could afford it, but I'm throwing my money away when I know if in 3-4 months' time I'm going to get it at half the price. Like, I mean, admittedly, the PlayStation ones the first party ones tend to keep their value a lot longer. But yeah, I mean, it's mental. You know what I mean? At £40 a game, people were happy. And there was all of these arguments about it. The price has got to go up, but it's gone from 40 to 70 in such a short space of time. It's just insane. And people don't have it. You know, you can argue that it's been, 10 years since we had an increase in game prices, but the fact remains that if you want to make £40 a game, then, well, as you were, then just release them at £40. Or at the very most 50, but even then, you're getting into... I've not found that in the last 10 years that 40 quid has changed that much for me. You know what I mean? Like, £70 is an insane amount of money for a game. You're never going to get people buying. And you'll get a lot of people buying your game, but if you sold that game at 50 quid, you would sell a lot more copies of it and you would make more money because you're selling more quantity, in my opinion. But what do I know? You know what I mean? I'm not a mathematician and I'm not someone that knows, what the figures are for these companies. But I just think £70 for a game is an insane amount of money for anybody, any normal person. Anyway, we've digressed a lot there, people. Blooming neck fire. Anyway, I'm happy, people. I'm happy. It is time for me to say goodbye. Go off and edit this glorious video together for all of you. Anyway, I hope that's been of interest to you. For anyone that didn't see the round table, I hope a lot of you are as excited as I am about this this combining of these two major companies. Gargantuan was the word I was looking for in my head there. I think nothing good can come from it, really. I'm really, really excited about it all. So there you are. It has been an honour and a privilege serving for you in this podcast of mine today, and I shall see you in the next one, folks. Take it easy. Bye.